that shows that AI has already wiped out 16% of entry-level jobs, but only for people under 25. Can we talk about that?
Sure. It's not just under people under 25. It's also specifically in the most exposed occupations. You can rank all the occupations in the economy by whether AI can affect them. So we did that, and we looked at the most exposed occupations, and that's the number you just quoted, about 16% less employment for young people up to age 25. But it's also worth noting that in the other end of the spectrum, the least exposed occupations, like home health aides, there's actually growing employment. Also, for older workers, growing employment, and perhaps most interestingly, for people using AI to augment what they're doing versus automate what they're doing, we could kind of look at the kinds of prompts that we're using. That also, those people also did significantly better. So I don't want to sugarcoat it. The core folks who are using AI to automate their jobs in places like coding and call centers that are highly exposed, there was double-digit declines in employment. And since we published that paper, we've continued to track it, and the effect's just getting bigger every month.
What are these most exposed fields?
So coding is obviously dead center. Call centers, parts of sales, marketing. It's actually, we find that the most useful way to do it is look at tasks as opposed to entire occupations. So every job is a bundle of tasks. Like, Jeff Hinton, the famous deep learning researcher, talked about radiologists being replaced.
Yeah.
But, radiologists actually do 26 distinct tasks we've recorded. One of them is reading medical images. That one's getting done by machines. But they also sometimes conduct physical exams, they review lab data, they coordinate care with other physicians. Those are not nearly as affected by LLMs. If you look at all the occupations in the economy, there's not a single one where LLMs just run the table and can do everything. In each case, there's parts of the job that LLMs can help with, writing memos, doing emails, looking at labs. There's others where LLMs can't help. They don't lift a box or drive a car, at least not yet.
For those most endangered fields, how much is AI doing in terms of tasks? Is it like close to 80% or?
Well, so that's the other thing. Within tasks, it's varying quite a bit as well. So in coding, it's happened so fast with agents. And like, I teach my course at Stanford, even last year, the students all did projects and they presented at the end of the class, typically like PowerPoint presentations. This year, every single student, every single project, they have to have running code, because whether or not they were a coder before or not, everybody's a coder now. Everybody's a coder now. That's a good message for your listeners. If you use tools like Replit or Cursor or Cloud Code, you can just have an idea, you describe it, and Cloud Code or Replit will help create it. So they all presented, actually just Friday, we had our final presentations. 20 teams presented it. So that's something where it's doing a lot. Call centers, I did a paper on call centers. And when I wrote that a couple of years ago with Lindsay Raymond and Danielle Lee, we found that the LLMs were mainly helping the human agents answer questions, and the human always did the actual discussion with the person calling in. Now we're working with the same company, and a big percentage of the questions are being directly answered by the agent, by the AI agent, I should say.
So they're employing less people?
Not clear, actually. That's another really interesting thing, is that, it sort of seems intuitive that when AI can do a task, you need fewer people, but that's actually not always true. In some cases, like with farmers and other categories, you do see falling employment. And I mentioned with the coders, we falling employment. But in other cases, when a person becomes more productive and AI does parts of their job, that actually leads companies to hire more of them. And if I can get a little bit wonky, I'm going to explain a little economics here.
Please, yeah.
So the way I think of it is through the lens of what we call demand curves, which is a downward sloping curve. So if you compare price on the vertical axis and quantity on the horizontal axis, then lower prices lead to more quantity. We all kind of have intuition that if you cut the price, more people can buy.
Yeah.
But the steepness varies a lot, and it matters a lot. If it's very, very steep, then a lower price leads to only a small increase in quantity, so you end up earning less money. But sometimes demand curves are very flat. Economists call that an elastic demand curve. And then a small decrease in price leads to a big increase in quantity. Like when jet engines made air travel cheaper, it didn't mean that we spent less on air travel. You and I and lots of other people fly a lot more than people did 50 years ago. because flying is just so much cheaper than it used to be. And you end up spending more than you did before. Roughly half the economy is in categories where you have falling spending as the price goes down. But the more interesting part is the half of the economy where lower prices lead to more spending. And that's a really important message, I think, is that as AI makes things more efficient, it's definitely destroying jobs and eliminating income in some places, but it's also creating opportunities in lots of other ones. That creation part is where I'm focusing my energy. That's what my course at Stanford is about. I have a master class that teaches people how to lean in to that creation part of the economy. I mentioned some of the changes in employment, a little bit in productivity, but it's really not a dramatic change yet. We're watching it carefully to see whether or not it will start taking off more. I mean, there's a real contrast. We also created something called the AI Index, the Stanford AI Index, which tracks some of the raw capabilities, like all these benchmark tests, like how well can it do on a math test or read a document, and on those, it's doing really well. So the raw capabilities are skyrocketing, but the economic impact is pretty muted right now. That gap between the capabilities and what's actually happening is a big opportunity, I think. Over the next few years, businesses are going to kind of close that. That's why I teach the masterclass. I also have a startup called WorkHelix, where we're very focused on teaching companies how to use those amazing capabilities to boost productivity, profits, sales. It's not happening as much yet as it should be, but over the next few years, I think we'll see a lot more.
So when you say it is not happening, does that mean that companies use it in a way that creates, I don't know, AI slop or things they can't use?
Yes.
Why is it even happening?
So part of it is they're creating AI slop, or they're using it in things that aren't that important. I was at one company, they did a big hackathon where everybody was making stuff, and they were so excited. The winning one was this person who used LLMs to make lunch menus. And I was like, oh, that's kind of fun, but is that really like the core value of your company, to have better lunch menus? So they need to connect it to real business problems, and it takes a while to figure out what those opportunities are and then execute well. Now, to be fair, this happens every time there's a powerful new technology. Like I studied in my PhD work, I studied how electricity rolled out 100 years ago in American factories. Believe it or not, it took about 30 years between when they first introduced electric motors in American factories and when you saw significant productivity gains. People like Paul David looked at the production records. Now, 30 years, that's insane.
That's a lot. Yeah.
That's insane, but that's true. That's what the data show.
How long will it take us with AI?
It's going to be a lot faster.
Okay.
But it's not going to be overnight. I was just visiting DeepMind about 10 days ago, and
London?
They were telling me, in London, and they were telling me how, oh my God, within the next 18 months, 24 months, we're going to have all these capabilities.